Then I have to pin myself. We'll get there eventually. If it takes a bit of time, we'll go over at the other end. Spotlight for everybody. There we go. That should be me up on screen. And hopefully you can see my feet. And we will start with the heels touching. We will start with inflating the body. A word I haven't used before, but it's kind of like, you know, when you have one of those balloons, you're going to make a long, thin balloon, you're going to make a doll or something out of a balloon. When you just start to inflate it, the first breath just fills the balloon up. And that's what we're doing here. We are activating the muscles of from underneath the feet. We're filling the legs with activation. We're filling the abdomen. The lifting of the chest comes from that inflation. It doesn't just come from tightening the muscles and moving the chest independently. It comes from below. The lifting of the back of the neck and the crown of the head all come from this breathing up. I say breathing, I say inflation. It's a light activation. And then a slight deflation combined with the settling down and the melting of the muscles. And the up and down exercise is no more than that. You don't want to be kind of getting into this big, I'm now moving down, I'm now moving up, I'm now moving down. It's a subtle exercise, which is done mainly with a sensation on the inside of the body. Master Huang brought this exercise, I guess invented it. And he said, everything he does in Tai Chi is contained in this one exercise. So obviously, anyway, that's what he said. So here's the exercise. We stand and we first settle down. We draw the mind inside. We draw the awareness on the sensations of the body, and we let the body settle down. The first thing is to take away any sense of doing or busyness. To feel the body and the body weight pressing onto the ground and creating a connected posture. Of course, you're going to feel tension or fullness or substantiality of the body, the weight of the body, the density of the body, the pressures within the body, you will feel. But the muscles themselves are in a releasing condition. And we are having an intention, a continued intention to keep waves of releasing passing through the body. You may not feel change, but those waves of intention continually soften, soften, soften. It's like when you're driving a car, the engine is continually powering the wheels to give you the movement. There's a continual process. Here, there's a continual process of an intention to let go. We begin the exercise by inflating to the crown of the head. Now, notice how that's different from moving yourself upwards. It's just enough to activate and get a response right through the body to the head top. And then we soften. Just enough to take away any tension in the body and let the body be pressed onto the ground. Try and let the weight of the body press you in. activate the legs. Engage the body, inflate the body, and with the out breath, settle the body, softening, taking away. You could say there are two phases to the sinking. The first phase is a simple bending of the knees and a softening of the body to ensure the body is connected. So the first letting go is much more on a physical level, if you like, to drop the body slightly into a connected position to make sure the body's connected. Connected means there's nothing else to change. Say that again. Connected means released in a way. You haven't generated the force, the stretching force in the body yet. That's the second part of the letting go. The second part of the letting go is that the spine is allowed to elongate. I'm just going to put this on mute because I can hear someone's background noise. Maybe someone is not on mute. I'm going to mute everybody. Okay, done. So you've got two phases. I'm going a bit of a deep dive into this because Mark asked about it. This is really, you can't really do this exercise too simply. It's a simple exercise, but you have to understand what you're trying to do. First is to drop into a connected position. You could say this is like the beginning of the form. The knees bend and the body drops. Then the next part of the form is that the weight has to be connected to the right foot in such a way that the body compresses onto the right foot enough to support yourself so you can move the left. Bear with me while I explain this if you can. When you drop onto your right, when you connect, the knees bend. When you drop onto your right foot, you don't want to get your balance from leaning and putting your weight over your right foot in order to move your left. The body should not move at all. So you sink your knees and you pass the connection to the right foot. That means you have to sink on the right foot. You have to let the weight of the body be drawn from underneath the foot. All the muscles have to change. The spine has to elongate and the body has to compress and press onto the right foot in order to stay in place while the left moves. If you move at all over the foot, you can see my head, you can see the lines in the curtain behind, and you can see if I'm moving. If you move across, you haven't gathered enough compression force that equates to the weight of your body. So the compression force of the body needs to balance your weight. So when you connect from a connected place, you can move to a compressed place. So the weight of the compression, the force of the compression, I feel more force underneath my foot. I feel my lower back open and I feel my pelvis fall away from the head top. The spine elongates. The body doesn't necessarily drop any further. The body's dropped to connect. The body doesn't drop any further, but the center line, you could say, lowers away from the head top. The legs melt, creating space for my center to drop onto the leg compresses, giving me a chance to stabilize on that compression and move my left leg. This is quite important and fundamental to working inside the body. So the difference between connecting and sinking, one flows into the next. So when we do the up and down exercise, the first movement is to drop into connection. Let go of unnecessary holding. Simple. Feel the whole body soften. Connected. From there, we compress into both legs. Compress. Spine elongates, the hips drop, the hips rotate, the chest rotates, the head rotates, the whole the curves in the back straighten to some degree. The pressure in the legs increases, the pressure in the soles of the feet increase. That pressure then has to go somewhere. I loosen the whole body and I allow that pressure to push the body back up. It's like something bubbling up through the loosening body, like a big bubble that comes up through water, or better still, like one of those lava lamps where you get a big bubble just kind of rises up through the liquid. So once you've connected, you compress, and you don't want to store that compression in the body. You want to allow that compression to come out. If you push up and contract, it doesn't do it, it just lifts the body. You have to have another wave of sinking, another wave of releasing to allow that compression to pass through the body. And at the same time, you draw the intention up through the body, right through to the crown of the head, or if you're issuing, to the fingertips, up through the body to the fingertips. As you release the compression, first you have to create the compression, connect, compress, release the compression, coming up. Connect, compress, soften the whole body, release the compression. I'll give one more little clue. Releasing the compression is a bit like when you squeeze a tube of toothpaste. When you squeeze the toothpaste, you put the force in at the bottom, and somehow that force passes through the liquid of the toothpaste and squirts out the other end. That's a bit like force coming back through the body. It's not about the body, it's not about the tube of toothpaste moving. When you squeeze it, the tube of toothpaste doesn't move. You just squeeze it, the pressure changes, and the force drives the toothpaste out. So the force inside the body is driven up and out. And it's not so much about the body moving up, it's more about allowing that force to come out through the body. I don't want to say pardon, there's a question.
Can I ask a question, Luke?
Yeah, Robert.
So that's great, actually, because I've been playing around with that. I'm just wondering how to identify what is compression, and my question was going to be, where do you feel it first? I mean, do you actually feel it in your feet first?
Feet.
And then gradually.
Yeah, in your feet first. In your feet.
And then you visualize it subtly moving into your hands, and then you just keep trying to make that more profound.
Yeah, in a nutshell, yeah. You have to feel when the signs of feeling compression in the body are that your feet feel more pressed onto the ground. your feet increase their pressure on the ground. So if you imagine, do you know the exercise where we push into the abdomen with a partner? We slowly increase the pressure with a partner, stands opposite us, we put the back of the hand out and we slowly increase the pressure of the hand, and the other partner is encouraged to take that force downwards to their feet.
Okay.
That's what we're doing to create the balancing force for their increased pressure. We're creating compression within our body to do that. It's not that we're locking, and it's not that we're pushing out to meet their force. We're drawing their force in. So with the compression, there should definitely be a sinking and definitely be a feeling of drawing downwards through your body. And at the same time, the sensations you'll feel will be increased pressure in the feet, definitely. And if the lower back opens, you'll feel an increase in lengthening in the spine. These are the two sensations to first look for. Of course, those compression sensations, because we've got nerve endings all over the whole body, every part of the body is affected in that, which when you say take it deeper, you'll start to feel more and more things changing as you compress the body. But the first things to start, make sure the feet increase in pressure, make sure that comes about from changing the muscles in the legs, opening the lower back, feeling the tail fall away from the crown of the head to stretch the spine. Doing those things will start to include the whole of the rest of the body, and the body will start to synchronize. So, you know, when you soften the lower back, elongate the back, the shoulder blades have got somewhere to drop, the shoulders can spread and sink, and you'll start to feel those stretches and compressions right the way through the whole body. And the degree, my understanding is the degree to which your Tai Chi is advanced, if you like, is the degree to which how aware you are to generate those stretching forces and to coordinate them. Because what we want to be able to do in push hands is use those stretching forces and compression forces, pass them back through the body to the hands to throw somebody. They're really good for health. They're really, really good for health because it involves every single part of the body has to change. Every single part of the body has to be fluid. Every single muscle in the body that is used for stabilizing us and balancing us has to go through a cyclical change when we do that movement. And here's the thing, we do that movement almost in every single move of the form, right? Be it on 2 legs, 1 leg, whatever the posture is, we come into the center. So brush left knee for a step. The first thing is, let's do it together. Brush left knee, twist step, please. We come into the posture, the base, the hips, the chest. Make sure your weight is 50-50. We first connect. There's a softening, there's a bending of the knees, there's a drawing down underneath each foot so the body falls about 1 inch into a connected posture. That's the first thing. The first thing is making sure we're not off the ground, we're not tight in the body, we're simply in the center, settled. This is what I teach beginners. Find a settled, accurate, upright, connected, stable posture. Your center line isn't over your hip. Your center line, your hips aren't leaning. All the basic things of Tai Chi. You're right in the middle. If you were to draw a line between your toe and your heel and your toe, Where they cross in the middle is where your center line is. The weight is 50-50, and you're letting your weight of your body lightly press you into the posture. That's the first thing. That immediately flows into finding a compression. In the bow stance, for issuing, we find the compression in the back leg and bring it through to the front leg. So we drop the back knee, and immediately you get a compression between the hips, the back elongates, and you get a compression in the back leg. It's the same as the up and down exercise. First we sink and connect, then we change the legs in such a way that the foot pressure increases, the back elongates, compression in the legs. Here, we're in a bow stance, we're nicely balanced, no compression in the body, but the body feels connected. Then we're going to develop the compression in the back leg. How do we do that? We let the weight of the back thigh fall to the ground. The thigh is held in place. We soften the muscles through the hip joint. We soften the muscles through the lower back, so the weight of the thigh itself can fall to the ground. This starts to create a compression in the back leg. But we don't want to store that compression in the back leg. We want to let that compression out. So we bring the mind up through the body. We soften the front hip and sink to the front foot to let that back leg start expanding, and that compression in the back leg rises. The body has to soften to allow it to rise. Shoulders have to soften to allow it to rise. The forearms have to soften to allow it to rise to the fingertips, and the mind plays an important part of. Just explain one more thing in detail, going deep dive into this today. For the force to pass through your body has to change. It's like a wave going through water. If the water freezes, the wave isn't going to go through it. The water has to be able to change for the wave to pass through it. Our body, if it's stuck or held or tight or not changing, that wave is going to hit that block and not go through the body. So the body has to be just like water, which means the muscle's fluid, for that wave of pressure to pass through the body. So when you feel the wave, when you feel the force in your leg, the only way to let it out is to unblock or let go more to let it rise. When you feel it rise, you have to soften above it to let it rise more. When you feel it rise more, you have to keep changing the condition of the body to let the wave pass through. That's quite advanced, but some of you will start to feel how to do that. I don't want to go too theoretical. I want to try and practice at a level that means something practically for you. But I have to teach at different levels because there are different people in the class at different levels with different experience. So if that's beyond your comprehension, just let it go and look at the simple things of bringing the body to connectedness, bringing the body to pressurized, and then softening the whole body. Let's do the fifth loosening exercise because it's contained within the fifth loosening exercise.
Look, can I ask?
Starting with a run forward. Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask a
Yeah,
quick
Brian.
question?
Yeah.
Do you think that to support the body without moving, do you think a lot of it relies on, it's not just the Taiji? Do you think it needs a lot of core, that really no matter how much you sink and compress, if the core's weak, would you agree that you're just not going to be able to do that?
The practice of sinking onto one leg and developing the compression in the body will develop your core.
Oh, okay.
Just the practice of doing that will strengthen the whole core of the body.
Yeah, because I do waver a bit. I mean, I can reduce it by focusing and trying to keep the weight even on the foot, but there is definitely a movement there.
Then focus on it. Slow down the movement, and try and get the stability to come from changing rather than, because the temptation is to do it quickly, because there's a moment where we're strong in a kind of a held way, where we're strong for a moment, but what we want is a slow, steady drawing down that stabilizes us through our change inside, not just through the momentum of dropping the body. When you drop the body quickly, there's a momentum of the body weight hitting the floor, but there's also at that time, if the body isn't soft, a rebound force that comes back through the body that's quite tight. A wave of shock that comes back through the body. When you drop the body quickly, the body bounces slightly. If someone's good at push hands, they'll pick that up really, really easily. They'll feel your body tight. They'll feel you hit the ground. They'll feel the strength of your resistance as you hit the ground. They'll use that against you. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to have a long period when we settle down, so we can be really lucid about which parts of us are stopping us from sinking, which parts of us join in with the sinking, and how we control that sinking and gathering the force needed to compress the body, stabilize us in order to move. So yeah, the core of the body is a big part of it, and the core of the whole body has to be organized and changing, because what we're studying is the Taiji is just a model really of how we move. It's a model to help us understand how we move. We're studying our core for sure, absolutely for sure. And in particular, the muscles that go, the psoas muscle, and how that changes in its function in both stretching when we create power and stabilizing us. That's all to do with our diaphragm to our quad. Everything here is really, really key. Let's do the fifth loosening exercise.
Thank you.
Sit back 90%. As you move forward, both legs are drawing you down. Make sure your front leg is equally important and equally active in changing to draw you into 50-50 position. And we're looking to immediately find a connected place where both legs allow the weight of the body to push you onto the ground, the body stays upright, and the body is nice and relaxed. That's the first thing, and your 50-50 weight. If you're not, change it. If you're tight anywhere in the body, change it. Give yourself time to settle down. The back thigh is unhinged and allowed to fall to the ground. It's like let your leg fall off your body. Let the weight of your dead meat of your thigh fall away from your hip joint. That will push your foot onto the ground and start the compression process. And as your thigh falls away, the lower back opens and you'll start to feel the spine stretching, elongating. There's the two signals to feel: the foot pressure and the elongation of the spine. As soon as you feel the foot pressure, you can start to transfer the connection to the front foot. That immediately allows the back leg to expand. So in the sinking to the front foot, the back leg isn't held in place. That compression in the back leg is allowed to bubble up. And the back leg, as a result, moves and the knee opens. At the same time, you're sinking onto the front leg. So you're changing you've been 50-50, you've increased the pressure in the back leg to 55 by dropping the back thigh, and now you're changing the connection to 55 in the front leg by softening the front hip, sinking forwards into the front leg. But likewise, you don't move over the front leg to stabilize you. You simply change the connection. And this is akin to the beginning movement of the form, where you don't move over the right leg to step left. You sink and compress to step. Here, you don't move forward onto the front leg. I'll teach beginners to move forward because weight and balance of weight and stability of weight is much, much easier when the body is over the foot. Much, much easier when the body's over the foot to be stable. To release to the foot and become stable means you have to start working internally, means you have to start working with compressions, and I don't teach that to beginners. So in our form, when we do the form, we stay in the center. The center doesn't move forwards, but it rotates, and the tail points towards the front foot. And the weight or the connection or the compression changes onto the front leg so that the back leg can expand and the compression can bubble up through the body. The body softens onto it and it comes to the shoulders, to the fingertips. All that time, you're sinking onto the front foot and the mind is rising through the body to the fingertips and out to the distance. So we sit back 90%. Part one, draw down under both feet and find a connected place. Beginner's level, but take it to the next level of really letting go. 2, something happens in the back thigh to drop the knee. The result is you feel the compression under the back foot. Immediately start looking for the front leg. Bring the mind up through the body, drop the shoulders, let it come through to the hands. If we're doing the fifth loosening exercise, we don't use the arms. It's enough just to do it in the base. In the form, right through to the fingertips. Issuing force through the fingertips. Sit back 90%. Draw down underneath both feet, both legs change. Connect in the center. Without stopping, load the back leg. Without stopping, pass the connection to the front leg. Try not to lift the body with it. Try to melt the shoulder girdle onto the force that's rising. One more time, sit back 90%. Fall in. Connected, increase the pressure by dropping the thigh, dropping the knee to the ground, sink to the front foot, wave through the body, mind up through the body, sit back. Change sides. Slightly narrow stance. So Jim, your question about the feet in this one, this is a slightly narrow stance as well. Fifth loosening exercise is slightly narrow. I say slightly, it's actually very narrow. So if I was to do it to the front, you turn in the back foot, you open the front, and that's the posture. So it is narrow. Same as holding the ball at the beginning of the form. Sit back 90%. Fall in. The front leg has to change to allow you to fall in. The front leg is just as active as the back leg in drawing you down. I say active, the muscles are actually becoming more passive, but they're both involved in the process of drawing you into the center. The back thigh fall away, sink to the front foot. Wave comes through the body as the mind goes out to the distance. Sit back at 90%. Centrally stable. Compress. 55 in the back, changes to 55 in the front. Sit back. Into the center, both legs, under the ground. Compress the back leg through to the distance. Sinking onto the front foot. All these jigsaw pieces come together. Don't worry if you can't feel the whole. Just focus on one aspect of the process. One aspect. Find the connected place. Find how you let go of the back thigh. Find how that increases the pressure in the back foot. Find how you sink to the front leg to let that out. Take it one step at a time and look for one thing at a time. Eventually, all those things come together so there are no breaks. As you fall into the center, you compress the back leg, you sink to the front leg, wave comes through the body to the hands. One smooth wave. Later, that wave starts much further back. So as you're moving forwards, you're developing the compression and the wave right from the back leg, rather than coming into the center first. So this is like an intermediate way of finding it, to come into the 50-50 posture, to ensure body's relaxed and settled. You haven't stored any tension in the body. You haven't stored any contracting muscles. You found the settled place before you begin to compress and go through. Later, from one leg, you start to compress immediately. Sink in, start to compress, compress further, release. So it's more dynamic. I'm not going to go there right now. So that is, just going to give myself a time check. That is 45 minutes of quite intense theoretical stuff. Let's just simply go through some loosening exercises and see where any of that has any relevance, or where we can find it. First loosening exercise, connect. Both legs soften, body softens, body connects. To compress, release. Sink, connect, turn, compress, release, rebound. 3 stages: sinking, connecting, both legs involved, sinking and connecting. Make sure you're fully released and connect. All the muscles are calm and soft. Sink and connect. 2, turn, release, and compress. This is when the arms drop and swing up. Compress, and to uncompress or rebound, Soften the whole body and bring the mind up. All the way through to here, right out to the fingertips. Sink both legs. Turn and compress. Drop the thigh to the ground. Compress. Open the lower back, stretch the spine. Pressed onto the ground in a compressed way. That compression has to go somewhere. Soften the body and let that compression turn you back around. Let that force inside the body push you back to a square, opened up position. So rather than using your motivating muscles to push you and turn you, which is how we'd normally contract the body to turn, we just let that compression that's inside the body expand out, and the body follows the compression changing through the body. The movement of the body follows the expansion through the body rather than the body moves. It's like a boat on water. The waves move and the boat follows the waves. Not the boat going up and down. It's not the body going up and down. It's the waves of compression coming back through the body. And as a result, the body moves. Connect. This is your 1 inch down, or half an inch into compression, into connection, and then compress. And in compression, the body doesn't really lose much height. What happens though, is the center falls away from the crown of the head. So the leg shortens, the spine elongates, whole body softens, and the pressure from the foot with the mind rising comes back right out to the fingertips. Connect, compress, soften. Mind comes up as you rebound. Master Hang said that when we start Tai Chi, 90% of our movement comes from moving the body externally. What does that mean? Contracting the muscles to move the body and using the arms, using the legs to put the body in a position. Over time, that changes so that our focus becomes much, much more internalized. We're focused much more on the changes inside the body. So we're 90% focused on what happens inside the body. And the result of what happens inside the body moves the body. This is the change from being, if you like, beginner to being advanced in Tai Chi. The focus of the movement comes from the changes we make inside the body. Because when we soften the body drops. Everybody can feel that. This class, everybody can feel that, I know. Soften the body and you can feel gravity acting on you. Connecting, that's the first thing. Soften the legs. You don't have to even bend the knees. The weight of the body will take up the slack and push the body into a bent knee position. When you soften the muscles. When we don't soften the muscles, the legs stay locked and we stay at the same height and there's no movement downwards. The leg muscles are pushing back up to balance our weight. When we take the muscles into a softened condition, the weight of the body naturally pushes us into a lower position. Everybody can feel that. The next stage, when we turn, unhook the thigh. It's as if the thigh is falling away from you and the upper body has to follow it. thigh falls away to the foot, the knee falls to the foot, the thigh, the weight of the thigh falls, the foot pressure increases, and the body buoyantly balances on that compression. And really let go now deeply. If you don't do anything else, it will get locked. That compression will get locked. And you've got two options to get it back out. One is to push, which is what beginners do, or most people do. They feel a compression in the body and they push. It's very natural to do that because when we walk, we feel a small compression and we push up, push away from it. We push into it with the contracting muscles. That's how we propel ourselves. We're half balanced, but we're half falling. We compress, we push, we compress, we push. If you run, you'll understand that. Run quickly, you get the sinking compression that you use to spring from, and you add to it with a contraction, and it makes us walk. And it's great because the legs are really well designed. But with this one, what we're looking for is develop that compression, but not use it straight away. Develop that compression, and then let the body feel like it could fall over. Let the body be so loose that you're not trying to hold it up at all. You're really trying to completely let the body fall over. And what you'll find is that when you really let the body go soft, 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 almost as if you're asleep, so you're not holding on at all, what you'll find in that softness is that compression force starts to move the body. So when we talk about a wind blow through the room and the room sway, that's the sort of looseness we're talking about. So once we've got the compression, we have to then fully rely on dropping onto that force completely to enable it to support us. We have to find out how the organization of the body is in relation, the weight of the body in relation to that force, completely let go of any holding, and the force will come back through. That's the practice for the week, that one practice for the week, because then when you can find that, you can bring it into any of the movements of the foot. When you issue the force, you have to be completely loose and completely relying on the force that's stabilizing you, the compression that's stabilizing you, not any musculature at all. And where I don't want to give a number, but 95% of people go wrong in Tai Chi is they see a push, it looks like a normal shove, the other partner goes flying. How do you create a shove? Quickly throw your weight towards the partner and push them. People see that going on, or they see the result of the issue, and the only way they know how to generate the force we're looking for is the opposite way of momentum, speed, direction, intention, and we're doing external martial arts if we follow that pathway. If we contract and shove and bring power, it's no different from striking like a boxer would strike. Power from the back leg, through the shoulder, into the fist. Bam. So that's not what we want to do. We want to find the power that comes from letting go, the mysterious power. That is hidden.
Can I ask a question, Luke?
Yeah, sure.
So before you're aware of the sensation of the compression sending you back up. How do you get onto
Yeah.
the foot in exercise number one? I mean, you know, you've committed to one leg, you're completely down there, and you're waiting for a rebound, and you're not really getting it. I mean, how do you get to the other foot? I mean, you have to use a little bit of contraction, don't you? I mean, even while you're
No,
training.
no, you don't. You don't. If you in this position here, it's very easy for the body to become locked, right? The body needs to be like water, really like water. If you're in this position and the body's held, you're not going to get back. You need to soften and make changes in the angle of the hips, make changes in the opening of the lower back, and those changes allow the movement, the force to pass through the body. It's like if you've got a hose pipe and you've got water coming in, you've got your finger on the other end, it's not going to get through. But taking your thumb off is what we're asking ourselves to do. So the holding that I've got in this position will stop any movement back to the center. But as soon as I change inside the hips, change the angle of the hips, open the lower back, that immediately is like taking my thumb off, and that force has got somewhere to go. You have to explore that and maybe not look for the full movement, but look for, how do I release that force? How do I understand what that force is, and how do I release it? So draw it up the leg and make changes, especially in the hips, in the hip joints and in the lower back, that allows that force to come up. And with it, you'll find a turning and a movement. And it's like I was talking about a tube of toothpaste. The tube doesn't move, but the toothpaste moves. So the force moves up and comes through. And eventually you can bring it out to the hands. The first thing is getting it from the foot to the center. That's the practice, Robert. That is the training of repeatedly looking at the more subtle things in the body. I kind of explained as much as I can in an hour. And then you just have to do, 10 minutes of first loosening exercise, see what you can find. If you're lucky, you take yourself to a deeper place where the mind drops into really listening to the body closer and closer and closer. This is the subtlety of it. And at that place where you're really in touch with the sensations in the body, this stuff starts to make sense. Because if you start to do it as a technique, you haven't got a chance in hell of finding it. It's not based on a technique. It's based on really being in the body, with the changes of the body, with the forces of the body. That's the best I can kind of offer, really. And that comes from just settling in, and really feeling what's going on in our bodies. And it's amazing, you can get to be however 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and yet we're still kind of like understanding what our bodies are actually doing. So we haven't done any form tonight. We've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to go slightly over. I'd like us to do a little bit of form. I'd like us to put see where some of this fits into the form, so that when you do the form, you can kind of try and find some of these things. So first stance of the form is settling down, calming the mind, calming the emotions, softening the body, loosening as much as possible. First bend of the knees is to connect the body, although the body is pretty much connected already. Bending the knees. Remember, you're not bending the knees to take the body to a lower position. You're bending the knees to start to soften and let the weight of the body push you in. There's a difference between doing the move and letting go to allow the move to take place. The second part of the move, when you sink to one foot, the right foot, you have to drop the thigh, feel the pressure, and slowly let the whole of your body, this is where the core of the body is important, to be organized and compressed. Waist pressure supports your center, shoulder pressure supports your head. Onto the right foot, release. Once more, settle down. Connect, compress, release. As you release, the hands float up. Sink and connect, compress. When we move into the holding ball position, just like fifth loosening exercise, both legs change. It's not that the knees are dropping, it's that the legs are changing to allow the weight of the body to land into the connected position. Back leg fall, the back thigh falls away, immediately compressing the back leg. The connection goes to the front foot. We're looking for the support on the front leg now. Back leg can expand, shoulders drop, the mind comes up and the wave goes through to the hands. Sink and turn. Move in. Connected. In this position in the form, give yourself time to make any changes you need to make. Maybe your feet are in the wrong place. Maybe you're tense in the body. Maybe you're not upright. Give yourself a chance to reorganize into a nice connected position. Give yourself permission to change where you are. Maybe your neck needs to be elongated, crown of the head. Maybe you need to just spread your awareness through the whole body and settle. Drop the back thigh, feel the back foot increasing pressure immediately. Sink to the front foot, drop the shoulders, wave through to the left hand. Sink and turn. Glide in. Reorganize. Bend the knees and connect. Press the back leg by dropping the back thigh. Immediately sink to the front foot. Let the hips turn, sinking onto the front foot. 55% in the front. You haven't come forward onto your front leg. You stayed in the center and turned, but the connection that's supporting you has changed from the back leg to the front leg. Square, drop back, 90% in the back leg, turn open, turn back, both legs draw you into the center. As you reach the center, the left wrist touch, connected. Change if you need to, organize your posture as you need. So you feel lightly connected, increase the pressure in the back foot by dropping the back thigh. Feel the lower back open, feel the spine elongate, falling away from the crown of the head. Bring the mind up to the back leg, sink to the front foot, soften the shoulders, bring the mind up to the chest, sink more and let the hands drift out. Sit back by drawing to the back foot, under the back foot, let the body melt and sink onto the back foot 90%. Sink into the 50-50, connect. Increase the pressure, change the pressure, let the body be really loose. Drop the shoulders, let the wave pass through to the fingertips as the mind goes to the distance. Sit back, turn. Sink to the right foot, single whip. Step left. Find a centrally stable position first. Soften the legs, soften the back thigh, increase the pressure in the back foot, the compression, let it through the body, wave to both hands. Just through to there, just a single whip. So we're really kind of like doing workshop level today. This is the sort of level I'll teach if people are with me for kind of like all day or 2 days. We'll go in a deep dive into it. Spurred on, of course, by the question at the beginning of the class. Thank you, Mark. Up and down exercise. As Master Huang said, everything he does in Tai Chi is contained in that up and down exercise. I think he's talking about the forces, you know, the forces that are generated in Tai Chi, being what makes Tai Chi so kind of unique in a way, different from other ways of moving, which are just physical. So I would, if you have time now for the next few minutes, do a form yourself, see what you can. See what comes through from this hour together, what you remember, what feel you can feel in the body, see how you can put it into your form, even if it's just a beginning of the form up to single whip. It's really good to do it yourself without me talking it through and see what you can find for yourself. I'd highly recommend that, especially when it's fresh, especially when you've had a good dose of, I call it a dose, a good amount of explanation. Yeah, it's kind of fresh in your mind. You'll probably forget some of the detail, but the video will be with you tomorrow and you can always go through it anytime you want. So good. Has tonight been helpful or a bit too deep, or give me some feedback, because you're the ones that are learning with me.
No, it's really good, Luke. It's really what I've needed to hear for like the last 20 years.
Yeah, there's a top. Jim?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's where I need to work. You know, just the sinking the back thigh and feeling that force come through from the front leg. That's something it's quite weak, but talking through it like this in detail is, I find that quite helpful. And I do need to practice it to make it come. I know that, but it is good to talk it through.
Yeah, sure.
For an hour.
Yeah, sure.
That was very, very good.
Right.
One thing which may be a help is when you've sunk and you're waiting to come up, is press the foot into the floor rather than so. Because this is how they say how to learn to walk in Tai Chi is you press your foot into the floor, and that helps to bring the energy up and up through your leg. So it's something to possible to think about.
Yeah, it's I'm glad you brought that up, Fred, because that is one of the that is how it's taught. If you push your foot into the ground, you'll feel the force in your back foot increase. For sure, it's like when we walk or when we run, we push the foot onto the ground and it propels the body. It's a little bit external, and it's try and get that same force from dropping your thigh and dropping your knee rather than pushing your foot into the ground. But if you need to push your foot into the ground, fine. It's a slightly more it's a transition between beginners level and what we're doing tonight.
Yeah, just that instead of putting the energy through your thigh and your calf and that way, it might be easier to, as I say, an interim stage to feeling the energy coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interim stage, but eventually you have to let go of all contraction.
Oh yeah.
And pushing the foot into the ground is a contraction.
Mm.
So you can train, you know. But Patrick used to say push the foot into the ground to the more beginner levels. And I know Jin does as well to the more beginner levels, but I don't consider this group beginners.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it might be how I teach the beginners when we're ready to start to work with the issuing force.
It makes my legs hurt, I can tell you that, Luke.
Pardon?
It makes my legs hurt.
Excellent.
I need to go,
You're
guys.
using them now.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, cheers, Brian.
Cheers.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. Yeah, we're running quite over, but I'm going to sign off. So thanks a lot. Have a good week.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cheers.
all good. Bye for now.
Good dose.